Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the SEANC View Podcast, post-Scenic Convention edition. This is Jonathan Owens, the Communications Director. I'm here with Artis Watkins, the Executive Director, and Sam Klein, our podcast producer. We're going to get through the convention hangover and give you a great episode this week. So I guess the first question is, have you recovered from our week in Greensboro?
Sorta. And by hangover, y'all, he doesn't mean alcohol.
not
Hangover,
real hangover.
just exhaustion. It is such an amazing event, but it is grueling
It really
on
is.
staff. Sam, you just said, how many pictures did you take?
Close to 7,000 photos.
I mean, can you imagine? I don't think I've taken 7,000 photos in my life.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There's a lot of good photograph opportunities there, too. So a lot of action and things. We try to get people raising their hand or stepping to the mic and actually doing stuff.
It is a really democratic with a little D event. There's so many people speaking out. It's perfect. You know, it's what you want.
Yeah,
you want people to speak out.
I think I may have mentioned it on our convention podcast last week, but this year seemed a little more lively than in years past. Not that it's been dead in years past, but it seems like it was a lot of action this year.
I noticed that. Even in the pictures I got. There are a lot of people who were very excited, very high energy. There were some moments where I would just accidentally capture a couple people sitting at their table laughing and giggling while things were happening.
Every emotion in the world happens on convention floor. You know, we're like any other group that gets together and votes on stuff. I mean, we scrap each other and then we're loving on each other, and emotions are running the gamut. But it's like any other political process. You have to make the sausage, and it's not pretty.
Yeah. Well, we hope you'll join us next year at the convention. Get active in your district, and you can take part in the fun/hard work. I guess we'll move on to other topics. I may bring back some convention-related things here in a few minutes, but I guess today is 9/11, September 11th, 2025. It's the 24th anniversary of the
Can you believe
attacks.
it? It's been that long.
I can't. Where were you on 9/11? I guess that's the question you have to ask first. I was a junior in college, and I just remember I had class that day. I woke up, I think it was like econ, and that was the early class. So it was like at 9 a.m. So I woke up and as I was getting ready for class to go, I saw the news story came on about the plane crashing into the towers. And then at that point, it was like, oh, this is probably just some pilot mishap or something. And we just really didn't know what was going on. And then I guess when I got to class, the second plane had hit, and it was a crazy day on the campus at UNC. They brought TVs into the pit, and all these students went down there and watched what was going on and everything. I guess at that time we didn't really have smartphones, so we weren't just walking around watching it on our phones. So that was pretty crazy. What do you remember of that day?
My mom was in the early stages of dementia.
Oh.
And when she saw the television, and I saw her seeing the television, we were about to go to a neurologist appointment for her. And it definitely, people, if you've ever been around someone with dementia, things that are tragic or really upsetting can really throw them off. And it was instant. I could see it in her.
Yeah.
So that was a rough day. And then my daughter came home from kindergarten.
Wow.
Where they talked about it. And so that was a whole other, got both ends, beginning and ending of life spectrums of that day. But that's what'll always stick out with me is dealing with an older person with dementia and a kindergartner about that, and trying to talk to either one of them about it. It was just so awful. The stories, though, afterwards, honestly, were so amazing. People who had so much bravery, and I couldn't even fathom. You have to ask yourself, what would you have done if you were on one of those planes? Or would you have done the things some of these people were brave enough to do? I don't know.
It's definitely a watershed moment in our lives. Where were you type moment. Sam, where were you? Tell us where you were.
I was getting fed breakfast. I wasn't even a year old. I was 15 days away from being one. I remember hearing the stories. My brother was still asleep. My mom was feeding me because I always woke up earlier. I don't wake up early now. And my mom got a call from my dad, who was stuck trying to get on base. And shortly after my first birthday, my dad was one of the first special forces groups on the ground sent to Afghanistan for Operation Enduring Freedom.
Thank you.
And if
to
you're
your dad.
if you're a new listener to the podcast, you may not know that Sam's dad is a superhero, and
Pretty much.
yeah, but
A lot of fun stories from him.
I think we all found a very quick appreciation of folks like your dad at that time.
Absolutely.
You really,
And the country pulled together. It was,
Yeah.
it was like nothing I'd ever seen in my lifetime.
yeah, it really was just a totally
People
different,
stopped arguing with each other.
Yeah, we soon returned, but
Yeah.
I know. That's
it was
the
sad. It
thing.
was like 2
Honestly.
months.
But if you ever hear me talking about how I had a blast of a first birthday party, it's because my dad was deployed shortly afterwards, and all of his family came, all of my mom's family came.
How quickly was it? Was it because I know they were like talking about operations within like a week or so?
Yeah, it was maybe a couple days after my birthday.
Okay.
So it was
3 or 4
really
weeks.
it might not have even been that. It was really quick. I don't 100% know the details. My birthday party might have honestly been a little early because
Yeah.
of that situation. But all I know is that my parents would tell me, they were like, yeah, everyone was here. All the family was here because your dad was leaving and we didn't know.
I tried to tell my daughter this morning on the way to school about 9/11, about what happened that day, and she's pretty into current events and things, so she did listen. But it's just weird to think that there's a whole lot of people who have no concept of what happened. That you just,
It's been that long.
it's just been so long. So, and we're not stepping around the obvious news of the day, the death of Charlie Kirk. There's not really much we can add to the discussion except, just prayers for his family and everyone who loved him. And it was just a terrible, terrible scene yesterday. Yeah, it's nothing any family or any person should have to live through, and our hearts go out to him.
Yeah. Talking about 9/11 and the aftermath and how everybody banded together, and then looking at where we are now politically in terms of, it's obviously not just Charlie Kirk. A couple months ago, the Speaker of the House in Minnesota was killed. She and her husband. Another Minnesota lawmaker was shot. And there was the assassination attempt on President Trump at a rally over the summer. We're just a really violent society, a very violent society. And we have to do something about that.
Yeah, it's really disappointing that, I don't know, it just seems like there was a time when these things didn't happen, or maybe they did and we just didn't know about it.
I think people have spoken their mind about things. Sure, over the years, I guess every now and then.
Yeah.
Somebody did get killed speaking their mind. But in America, that's what you're supposed to be able to do, is speak your mind. And I just think, again, violence has become a pervasive theme of our society in a way that I don't remember it. It was even the way high school fights that people film and put online. When I was in high school, if there was a fight, whoever won at the end of it walked off. They didn't continue to hurt the person. Like, that would have been considered the most loser thing you could do, to continue to hit someone who was down. I'm kind of shocked that now apparently that's not the way, but I shouldn't be shocked. Things change.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Saw fights in high school constantly that were, person's already down. Why are you still
Yeah, to
bashing
me,
them?
that is
just stop. Get up and walk away.
Yeah. So I'm not really shocked that people do really violent things, because people do really violent things every day all over the place. And we're kind of becoming more numb to it, I think.
Yeah.
That's a great segue into our first topic about the stabbing on the light rail system in Charlotte. I think we bring that up because it did happen in North Carolina, and it, has some state government implications.
And local, which we have local government SEANC members as well.
But I guess on August 22nd, a man, and there's video of this, and I did not watch it purposefully because it seems really brutal.
I saw the aftermath, but I didn't see the actual incident.
So a man stabbed a 23-year-old Irina, you can say it.
Zarutska.
Irina Zarutska, who was a Ukrainian refugee who was living in Charlotte and working somewhere.
At a pizza place.
And she had their uniform on. That's what kind of got me. But yeah, just national. I mean, and that's been taken by both sides, and one side has been particularly harping on, what's coming out of it.
I don't understand how we have both sides of killing people's wrong. I mean, she is unfortunately not the first person to be killed on public transportation in America. She's probably not the 1,000th. I mean,
may not have been the one that day.
But she has gotten national attention, and it's drawn attention to it, and it's drawn a lot of finger pointing. Sam and I were talking a little bit before this. There's so much finger pointing, and it's a little confusing because the things we do know about this, is on a train car there in Charlotte, which is locally operated, but the security for that train apparently was privately outsourced. Okay. So when we talk about privatization and we talk about all the woes of that, I mean, I think it's worth noting here. This was not local employees that were asleep at the switch or something like that. This was privatized. And we know that the gentleman who, was seen on tape stabbing her, he'd been in the system a number of times.
He had more than a decade with 14 prior cases and had been diagnosed with schizophrenia.
And the court talked about it.
Yeah.
And this isn't unusual. I mean, everybody thinks, wow, how did this guy get through? Because that's how our system is set up right now.
And that's how the limitations are set up on our system.
Yeah, the sentencing guidelines. I mean, you can't just willy-nilly decide what you're going to do with somebody. Magistrates and DAs are all given things to work with that they have to work within the framework of. We've closed a lot of prisons in North Carolina.
That's what I was going to bring up. Are those limitations because of the limitations of the facilities we have and the investment in facilities?
Well, I mean, we don't have room for...
Yeah.
But there's been a movement, a movement that I believe is well-intentioned to try to keep people out of prisons to the degree we can and either get them set on the right path if all they need is, some counseling and then job training, things like that. That would be fine, but we don't seem to be getting that part done. But more importantly, where the mental health issues come into play, our members are telling us loud and clear. The ones who work in DHHS facilities will tell us, we've got some that are in mental health facilities that honestly should be in a prison. And we've got people who work in prisons who say, we've got some who should be in a mental health facility, and they become a huge victim in the prison system. But there is no question that this mental health crisis in our country, and therefore in our state, is completely out of control. And I just don't think we've had the resources to keep up with it.
Yeah.
So if we don't send people to prison and they're mentally ill, something will happen eventually.
Yeah.
So
especially something like schizophrenia that is not, if it's not properly handled with medication or therapies, then anything like this obviously can.
And that's also an access issue.
Yeah.
It's not easy to access.
And when you say things like this, you just seem like people are quick to point out that you're just like, standing up for the accused, or you're not.
I think it's standing up for society to say, look, we can say we're going to be tough on crime. We can tell people you do something and we're going to throw you under the prison. But that doesn't mean anything to someone who's not in their right mind.
Yeah.
You could have had an armed guard on that car. And I'm doubtful, based on how wacky that whole thing was on video, how awful and how instantaneous he seemed to flip a switch. I don't think that would have changed anything. It seemed like, and court documents apparently show it, that he was ill. And that doesn't mean he didn't do it.
It doesn't dissolve him of all responsibility. Right. However, there is still a responsibility to get the help that he needs.
Yeah, and it's not even about him at this point. It's about how
he can't.
Keeping folks like him.
Yeah, you could tell him, "Hey, if you do this, we're going to put you in prison for life, or we're going to give you the death penalty." Do you think that probably would have changed the outcome?
No,
I don't think that somebody who would do something like that, especially in the way that it happened, there was no exchange between them. Nothing made him angry or anything like that. He just literally.
She sat down in front of him.
Yeah. And so it doesn't make the loss of her life any less tragic.
Yeah.
In fact, it makes it more tragic.
Yeah.
Because I think we just have to, it makes me think about our members, though, that work in the system, because they tell us this stuff all the time, that the system is set up right now in a way that so many people are not going to get the help they need, and they're out there, and eventually they will either become a victim or victimize somebody.
Yeah, and it says that if convicted, he faces a life in prison or death. I think that Trump had put out something calling for death for him.
Yeah, but I mean, so that stops
That
the
doesn't
next
stop the next
schizophrenic person from. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, I do know what our members keep telling us. We have to have a better infrastructure for mental health, and that is so expensive.
Yeah,
but people can't get it on their own.
Yeah,
you were telling us a little bit about you had an experience with the One Voice group that you and some folks who had visited from Norway or something. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about.
Well, in Norway, of course, it's a small country compared to America, but they put so many resources into their prison system, and it's like a 2 staff to 1 prisoner ratio, because their whole goal is when you leave there, you will not be back, that you will be productive to society. And it's really kind of amazing what they do. We can't wrap our heads around it because our system's so different, but they have an incredibly low recidivism rate. And these guys from Norway were really fascinating to talk to. And they said, no, it's going to be harder for y'all in your society. But mental health was something they were very big on. If somebody comes into their prison system and they've got mental health issues, they're all over it because, again, they want to make sure they can number one, not have to house that person forever, but not put their citizens at risk when that person walks out. It's really impressive. And I don't know how you do it on as large a scale as we are, but.
Yeah, that raises an interesting question, though. Like, if you put more into staffing, would you eventually have less prisoners?
They believe it pays off. Yeah.
Yeah.
They even provide, they go so far as to provide housing to people when they first get out, so that's not an extra thing, that's another hurdle that makes it less likely they succeed and become productive in society.
I always like to hear of legislators or politicians that think outside the box on things like that. And that would be an interesting thing for someone to think about. Just how can we approach this differently, because it's obviously not working now.
Yeah.
It's almost, in my head, I'm comparing it more as their true goal there is rehabilitation. While sometimes here it feels more like, no, you just need to be punished for what you did.
Or locked up for life.
Yeah.
Well, and you can have both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the problem, talking about defendants who are mentally ill, the punishment aspect is not going to be the stick that it is with most folks.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I would imagine if you're in the throes of a serious mental illness, you're not capable of slowing down and saying, all right, let me really think this through. What are the consequences? How much do I hate the consequences if I do this thing?
Yeah.
I just don't think that's reality.
No.
It's just too much sadness going on right
now. There is so much sadness. And a lot of this is very fixable, though. And so my words of encouragement are no different than they were on something like DMV. Talk to your employees, to the General Assembly, to the governor, to everybody. Talk to your folks who work in DHHS, in mental health. Talk to your folks who work in the prison system, and especially talk to your folks somewhere like Central Regional Hospital, where they're dealing with folks who have committed serious crimes but are struggling with a mental illness.
Yeah. I wonder about that. I wonder how much input providers and evaluators get from staff members who deal with people every day. I've had family members who go to like nursing homes, and the people you want to talk to are the people who are dealing with your loved one every day, not just the person who put them in there. So I wonder if that happens now, or
if families
or if the evaluators or the providers talk to the nurses and things at these facilities on a regular basis about what's going on with them.
Yeah. I don't know. I just know that there's a lot. There's not one of us that walks around that doesn't see somebody that is clearly mentally struggling with mental illness out in public. I'd say, once a week at least?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You can just walk in downtown Raleigh.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
Or, people that you don't even expect maybe dealing with,
right.
You never know.
Right. So I don't know. But again, there are people who do know. And the people who come closest to knowing are the people who work either with people who've committed in the criminal justice system or in the mental health system, or especially the people who work in the facilities where it's somebody who's both been in the criminal justice system and is suffering from mental illness. They can tell you a lot. So again, my plea to every elected official, talk to your employees.
Yeah.
Not the folks in charge of those agencies, because they've got a zillion things going on. They're not providing that direct care. Talk to the people who provide that direct care. And you might make some very different decisions day to day. I know that it has been mind-blowing to me to talk to them. I had no clue, because we would have no clue what's going on behind the walls of these places.
Yeah. And we had, on our last Gen Z episode that we did, we had a guest, Ramona Williams, who is a probation and parole officer. And one of the things that she asked of elected officials, if you guys listen to that episode, experience what they do for a week. Go on ride-alongs. Come to the office with them.
I'm too chicken.
Well, for us, yeah. But the elected officials who want to understand what's going on.
I agree. We do those. Well, we don't ride along with them because I think their people would have legal issues with that. But, we go to prisons. We do things so that we can represent our members who are in these positions. But I got to tell you, going to a prison now feels really different than it did even 10 years ago. It's a much more vulnerable feeling. And that's in a visitor situation where we're very protected compared to folks who work there.
Yeah. I don't think I've been to a prison since I've worked here. I've been to a prison, but
I'm with Sam. I mean, I think every elected official should go to a prison. And I think, like you said, ride along with probation parole would probably be, it would be eye-opening in ways.
Yeah.
I need to go spend the day with Wendell. Speaking of Wendell, we'll transit that. Look at that transition. That was pretty good.
Pretty smooth.
Yeah. So, and speaking of our convention, we did elect new officers for 2025/2027. So that's a 2-year term. Our president is, for those beginning in October 1st, our president will be Wendell Powell, who has been a frequent guest on our podcast. He was the first vice president and District 41 member. Very involved with SEANC for a long, long time, and we're excited to have him come aboard as the president, and we're excited to see where he takes us. First Vice President Emily Jones, who was the second VP before. She's been a podcast guest several times as well, I think. Stacy Crabtree moves up from treasurer to second vice president. She's also been on the podcast.
And they are both District 41, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our general treasurer will be Timothy Morgan from where's he from?
He's District 10.
Yeah, I know, but it's out near Charlotte, right?
Yeah. Salisbury area?
Yeah. And President Kurt Montgomery, who will be president until September 30th, will stay on as immediate past president, and he will still serve on the executive board. He did a great job running the convention on one leg this year. I felt so bad for him having to get back up and down those steps.
He hurt his knee really badly and had to have serious surgery on it. And it was recovering from that, but having to stand at the podium for 3 days.
Just an aside, it's always funny to see that first board meeting after the convention when the president changes and the relief on the outgoing president's face.
It's a really stressful position.
Yeah.
It's a volunteer position. So for 2 years, everything that can happen in a mammoth organization that represents people who are members and the ones who are not. So hundreds of thousands of people are affected by this person's actions. And it's all volunteer. So at the end of 2 years, they look very relieved to transition to past president. And he's
all smiles when they're ready for that transition.
But I think, for President Montgomery, I think he knows good things happened.
Yeah.
That state employees and retirees were represented very well during his tenure, and he can rest easy in that. But he's not going to be able to truly rest because past president doesn't rest around.
I know they have 2 more years of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In that meeting, he was sitting off to the side there, just kind of chilling.
Yeah.
He was happy to be in his spot. So we're excited to get these new officers on board. And we got some new cool stuff coming down the pike pretty early in the new fiscal year. We're expecting to have a new website, and I know that'll bring very much joy to our members
to you
who are very tired of our 9-year-old website.
Yeah, they do not like the website. I do not blame them.
It's like pieced together with like bubble gum and duct tape, right?
Yeah, we've not been giving a very good user experience there. So
but it's going to be awesome.
That
Yeah, it's going to be all. And I will say, you had a really good suggestion that I'll unveil as we get closer.
Oh, Lord. God only knows what it was.
But it'll be cool. Stay tuned. But yeah, we got a lot more cool things down the way. We may be doing a Western visit with the podcast
Not
here.
maybe. We will be.
Oh, okay.
Will be.
Yeah, we're heading west with the podcast.
I'm just going to need a scenic vehicle for that. Henry won't make it up there.
Henry, that's what you call your car.
Yes. I'll take
So
that
we're heading out to Cullowhee for a few days, I think.
Woohoo.
A few weeks. So
Yeah, and the golf tournament for
the UNC system.
Yeah, the staff Senate
that's it. That's it.
golf tournament is happening at the end of the month.
Maybe we should do it then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll move on to, I just wanted to touch on a few things, questions that I saw on Facebook from convention time. People would kind of comment on other, not crazy, but other things, not convention related, and we weren't able to get to them. So I just wanted to maybe go over a few of the common questions that I saw on those posts at convention. The first one, obviously, is just an update on raises and bonuses.
There are none.
Really? Yeah.
There are none, and there's no movement that we see towards any.
Yeah.
We are not going to stop pushing for that. We know your costs have gone up a lot on everything since last year. We know you deserve a raise, because we can't control the budget. All we can do is try to make the case to the folks who do control the budget.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the governor did speak a little bit about raises for state employees at the convention. I think that's what prompted a lot of these questions. But then the even bigger question, or the more asked question on our convention posts, were about retiree COLAs.
Yeah. If retirees get anything, it's not going to be a true COLA. When they say COLA, sometimes they'll say a bonus COLA or a COLA bonus. There's no such thing. You either get a cost of living increase or you get a bonus, or you get nothing. If anything happens for retirees, it would be a bonus.
Yeah.
Because the legislature has said they will not commit recurring money to retirees, because in their mind, to do that, they multiply it times 10, because that's how long the general fund would have to pay that money on average for somebody. And so the retirement system was set up to pay for any cost of living adjustments from the gains in the system, the interest you make off of your investments. It's not done that for years. And there's people that say, oh, it's because Dale Falwell didn't make the right investments, or Janet Cowell didn't make the right investments, or Richard Moore didn't make the right investments. Look, we don't even know what we're paying in fees to Wall Street. We do know for other public pension systems, which we'd be doing pretty much the same thing, as some of them have gotten their information, they know they're way overpaying in fees. So it doesn't matter how much you make if they take it back in fees. But also we know the General Assembly didn't put anything into this system one year, and then they put practically nothing for a few years, and then it just kind of inched its way back up to where it is now, where they're paying more than the employee.
Yeah.
But you can't, just like interest compounds in your account to go up, you compound your losses when you don't invest in it, and the General Assembly did not. Not this General Assembly.
Yeah.
But 2 decades ago, really mistreated it, and you don't bounce back from that.
And I will say that the retirees know that, and they're being very vocal about it, and rightfully so. I think it would probably behoove an aspiring politician to find a solution, or at least think outside the box. And
you're going to have to
actually,
do something.
Yeah,
because the actives have been watching this. Retirees have not gotten a real raise since 2017, and somebody listening who's not a public employee might think, why the heck would we give a retiree a raise? I can see where you'd ask that question, because you don't get a raise being a retiree other places. Government pays less, much less than the private sector. And the deal that's made there, the implicit deal with the employees, is you'll have really good health care and you'll have retirement benefits. And those retirement benefits will move, you won't get the same check for your whole retirement. It'll move up. And that'll make it worth the opportunity cost of having taken this seriously lower paycheck every month for your whole career.
Yeah.
And for years and years and decades, that promise was kept. And the health plan was pretty amazing compared to other health plans. And the retirement system paid COLAs. But that has stopped. And again, for the last 8 years, retirees have not seen an increase in their check. they have seen the health plan get worse for the user, more out-of-pocket costs for the user. So they feel completely betrayed. But the bigger problem is people still in the workplace are watching this.
Yeah.
And if I'm, if I'm between year 11 and year 15, I have to make that decision. Do I stick with this, trying to get to the 30, or is it not worth it? I need to go and make that extra money now.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like anybody's going to keep a promise to me because they're not keeping it to the people right now.
It's also some people who are sitting there, they get in there and they're saying, well, am I going to stay here if they're treating them like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, I'm going to stay and take less money to get nothing when I retire.
Yeah, I was talking to Don Vaughn the other day, and I said, look, this is the canary in the coal mine. This is what the retirees are. The employees are looking at them, and they're deciding, is this worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so unless we either come up with money for these retirees, if you don't do that, you're going to have to come up with money for employees, or you're going to only get the bottom of the barrel employees moving forward to agree to take state work. Then you've got citizens hopping mad because they get junk for service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another question that came up that I thought was a little different than the whole raises and bonus question is, what are the chances of possibly getting extra bonus leave this year as we have in years past? 5 days of leave.
So traditionally what employees have wanted is leave that could
bank it.
They could bank. Yes, thank you. I couldn't find that word. The General Assembly doesn't like to do that because there's a liability on the books. However, we're so short on employees that a lot of folks don't even get to take the leave they have. So bonus leave does them literally no good. They just watch it expire because their facilities are so overburdened, they just can't take time away. So the General Assembly would have to be willing to commit to let them bank it. But in that case, people might think that there's value in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was trying to think when I wrote this question down, is there any, beyond the liability part, is there any financial impact of giving 5 days leave?
Well, I mean, yeah, because it's a liability it's just a liability on the books because remember, anything over a certain number of hours that you have leave-wise that you earn has to convert over to sick leave.
Oh, okay.
You're already losing leave. When you've been a state employee long enough, you lose a good amount of leave at the end of the year because it converts to sick leave. And if you leave employment, you get paid for a tiny fraction of that sick leave.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last question I saw was just any progress on the Aetna Duke contract that we can discuss or...
Yeah, Aetna says that they're plugging away at this, and the state health plan says they're plugging away at this. I noticed the chairman of Duke Health is stepping down. I have no idea if that will change the negotiations at all. But
it says it still ends in October, from what I understand.
So they've got to come to an agreement soon, but this stuff can be put together very quickly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's part that people do need to realize. I don't think it should make anybody less nervous. It's certainly not a good feeling if your physicians are there to think, am I going to be able to go to them? But like I said, the CEO of Duke Health is stepping down. Yeah. So sometimes when people step down and other people step in, if there are things on the table being negotiated, sometimes you can see more movement in those things.
Yeah.
But I think the state health plan is trying to stay ahead of this so that they have alternatives for folks.
Okay. Just a few news topics that I saw before we get to the Gen Z moment. Mm-hmm. The Josh Stein praised efforts of the DMV to fill positions this week. 64 positions filled.
Let's hope they stay.
Yeah. Well, that's
true. That's the problem, is that people get in there and it's a very tough job.
Yeah.
And so they have been fairly quickly deciding that money for that kind of headache and even physical risk wasn't worth it.
Yes.
Let's hope they stay.
And then just wanted to mention the passing of Mark Hamrick, an employee at the Division of Marine Fisheries.
Oh, yeah.
After an incident yesterday or Wednesday, I guess. Mm-hmm. He was taking water samples in the
bay,
Turnagain Bay.
I don't know that.
Sea level, North Carolina. I've never heard of that either. But very sad situation from one of our colleagues here at SEANC who had worked with marine fisheries. He remembered Mark as a very committed employee and fisherman. So.
We don't think about how many jobs are dangerous, but if you're on the water,
Yeah.
I don't care what your job is. If you're on the water, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to revert back to what I used to do whenever my mom would come home with horror stories from the hospital. I would cover my ears and just go, la, 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 la. Happy birthday to someone in this world.
It's been sad. It's been a sad week.
Very.
Yeah, but our thoughts are with his family. And I guess let's move to a happier topic. Maybe. I don't know. Not a happier topic? What you got for us this week on Gen Z Moment?
Since we've been talking in this episode a lot about mental health, let's talk a little bit about some research on Gen Z mental health and the workplace impact. So 46% of Gen Zs have been diagnosed with a mental health condition, formally
That's a lot.
diagnosed. 37% suspect that they have an undiagnosed mental health condition. The top 3 mental health conditions diagnosed are anxiety, depression, and ADHD.
Yeah.
Of those people, 34% are taking prescription medication for their mental health, and 19% are self-medicating with things that are not prescribed.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
So the top negative impacts on Gen Z's mental health are social media comparison, essentially comparing lives on social media. 22% say it's their uncertain future / career instability.
Yeah.
And 11% is poor economy.
Huh. Yeah, I guess I graduated college right about the time of the last recession. And so the job market was terrible. No, Maggie, it was 2003, so the job market was terrible. So I remember.
I graduated law school in a recession.
Yeah, and I remember that anxiety.
But then it didn't last like this. This is a different world for young people. I don't know that I was tough enough to make it through what they've got.
I do have something that's a little more positive. So Gen Zs, despite a lot of us being diagnosed with mental health conditions, we are finding much more successful ways to manage mental health struggles. And over 54% report having mostly good mental health days, even with diagnoses and...
Well, that's good. Well, yeah, y'all say things like boundaries, something we were almost taught that having something like that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
Which is backwards.
And I wonder if that influences the statistics you were just talking about. Like, is it really that it's growing, or is it that it's just more diagnosed?
I bet it is. Yeah, all the
It's not even just boundaries when it comes to like work-life balance boundaries, but just boundaries in general. And I feel like some Gen Zs, I'm very lenient with my boundaries. I need to work on that because I am a people pleaser at heart and struggle with saying no to people, even when it's something that pushes my boundaries. But it's also just personal boundaries of even telling your friends, no, we are not having a conversation about that because
or your
it's
family.
A boundary.
Or telling your boss, please don't ignore my questions and please answer all of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad about even doing that.
Yes, like we got into it at the convention.
I was like, what are y'all even talking about?
We had a personal struggle here, but no.
Hey, I've started sending shorter messages now.
Growth. What I'm seeing here is growth.
No, I mean, she was right. But anyway.
I send too long of messages. I'll just send like a paragraph being like, here's all the information that I need to know. He'll answer half of it.
You know, my ADHD tunes out.
Yeah. It's just like too long, didn't read.
TLDR.
So I'm like, okay, I need to send shorter messages then. So I started doing that since we got back from convention. I was like, all right, clearly need shorter
She's learning to deal with what am I, a millennial, Gen X or something?
You're millennial.
You're millennial.
And I'm learning to deal with these crazy Gen Zs or Gen Zers.
But some of the most helpful ways to improve mental health, according to these, besides 42% of people in my generation already go into therapy, I'm one of those, woohoo, is 24% say that the most helpful way to improve mental health is therapy. 19% say more time with family and friends. Mm-hmm. And 22% is also changing your lifestyle factors. Diet, the amount of exercise you get, the amount of sleep you get.
I really think that's a big part of it. I mean, not for everyone, but some people, including myself, that, if I took better care of myself, I would be in a better mental state.
One last little fun thing with this is the most used unconventional methods that are not therapy, changing diet, exercise, and stuff. But they seem to help people.
What?
37% say that they like to manifest.
Okay.
What is that?
believing good things are coming to you
Visualize it,
and
right?
basically speaking into the universe what you want.
Okay.
36% of people listen to wellness influencer advice.
I believe that I'll get a Corvette. I believe that I'll get
35% of people use shopping for comfort.
Ooh.
I do that. It's not the most healthy thing
No,
because
then it creates financial issues.
Yeah.
which are even more stressful.
Yeah. But I do recognize when I am doing it
Yeah.
for essentially a dopamine hit of like,
Yeah.
I just need to buy something. Probably what I did when I bought 4 variations of Taylor Swift's vinyl.
Yes.
And you don't even have a record player, do you?
I do have a record
Oh, you
player.
do? Okay.
Yeah. And then 24% of people like to create vision boards,
Okay.
Okay.
which I also do that. My wallpapers on my computer, on my phone screen, all of them are
Oh, wow.
vision boards of things that I want to happen to me within that year or within that time frame.
And you said this month was what?
This month is Suicide Prevention Month.
Okay. And for any listeners, there are definitely resources available to state employees and retirees through the state health plan and beyond. So
Yes.
we'll include some of those in our wording this week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good topic there. And I guess we'll just wrap up with the question of the week.
John's wacky weird question of the week.
So since today is 9/11, and I was going to ask a 9/11 themed question, but I think I used it at the top of the episode.
Yeah.
I think our question will be, and given all of the craziness going on right now, what is the first national event or international event that you can remember from your childhood or when you were first aware of something? I have 2. Obviously, the Challenger explosion. I think I was like 2nd grade. We were watching it on TV when it happened, and that was amazing. It was like,
That's awful.
yeah, we didn't know what happened though. They turned the TV off really
Yeah.
quick. So, but I do remember just how like how emotional everyone was. And then I think the fall of the Berlin Wall too would be a big one. I think that was 89, so I was like 8 then. So those are my 2. I actually lived through turbulent times that I don't.
Yeah.
You know, like the fall of the Soviet Union and that whole time, it's just kind of etched in my brain from childhood. So, what about you?
Oh, because I'm so much older than you, the first thing I remember was the bicentennial.
Oh,
That was such a big thing.
that's cool. Yeah,
It was neat.
yeah. What was that like? I've always wondered.
Oh, there was, everything for a year was wrapped around bicentennial. Any advertising for stuff, at school we talked about it all the time.
Yeah.
We had, the bicentennial quarter came out. That was a big, big thing.
So
And-
next year is the 250th. So is that going to happen next year?
Yeah. Well, there will be. That's what I understand. There's some kind of committee making
Yeah.
plans, and
I remember
like
that
that.
quarter.
I think it's going to be really challenging for it to be anywhere near the same. We just weren't. Going back to what we talked about at the beginning,
Well,
we did not have this kind of
Watergate had just
division.
happened.
Yeah, but we weren't divided.
Yeah, that's true.
We just really no. We
Yeah.
weren't.
Well,
And everybody felt super patriotic,
yeah.
and patriotism didn't belong to any one group.
Have you ever seen Dazed and Confused, the movie? It's that summer. It's all about that summer.
Oh wow.
You need to go watch it. It's
Yeah.
awesome. But what
Well-
about you, Sam? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was little, so
Oh, you weren't.
I wouldn't
that
have had
old.
the same experiences. Yeah.
When I was really little, I don't have a lot of memories from when I lived in Tennessee, shockingly. I have like friend memories, but not a lot of like significant things that happened kind of memories. So the first big national news that I remember hearing, because I was somewhat sheltered. I knew bad things happened in the world and I knew things would go wrong, but my parents tried to keep us from having to see those really bad things. Actually, this might be the first national event that I really remember. It might be earlier than that. I was going to say Sandy Hook in 2012, but it might actually be
That was
Michael Jackson passing away, because I remember walking into the living room and seeing my mom in tears
Yeah, that was before.
That was like 2008, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I remember living in Tennessee for that. And I think that was the first big thing that I remember, because I just remember walking up to my mom and giving her a hug because she was crying and I didn't know why.
I remember
Big
that.
deal.
I was sitting in the newsroom at the Sanford Herald, and it came across the AP wire, and I was like, Michael Jackson died, and nobody believed me in the office. But yeah, that was a big event.
Yeah.
Big event for the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that might be the first thing that I actually remember. Like I said, I don't remember a lot from when I lived in Tennessee. I don't know, blocked out a lot of memories of my childhood. It wasn't bad. I had a lovely childhood, but blocked out a lot of memories of that.
All right, America or North Carolina. That was our episode. We'll see you next week.